Hi, Amy.
Abby.
Last night we watched 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, Season 7, Episode 9. Do you have anything you'd like to share about what you thought of this episode?
Short. A lot of conflict. I want to say they added more ingredients to the conflicts that we had last week. I feel like there was a slight more understanding of certain people, but I'm also still not sure. I'll figure it out when we talk about it. But oh my God, next week. What were your thoughts on this episode?
Okay, yeah, don't confuse me with next week. This week, I thought this was all about people getting a reality check,
Mm.
which
Mm.
was really, really satisfying to watch.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's a better perspective than the way that I put it. Yeah.
Anyway, before we dive in, let's do it. 1 and 2. 1, rate, review, and follow us wherever you listen to the podcast. 2, watch on YouTube at 90 Day Fiancé. Honestly,
Yes.
yes, let us begin.
First of all,
Okay.
before we actually get into it, flamingos.
Once again, chef's kiss to the cinematographers this season with all of the wildlife, especially flamingos.
Mm-hmm. I
What else
honestly,
is happening?
I thought I was watching last week's episode. I was really confused.
Yeah.
I'm like, flamingos? Again? Oh, shoot. Am I wrong? No, no. I just loved it. So thank you. Yes. Okay. So Johnny and Cleo.
Chloe,
Chloe. Where'd I get
Johnny, you keep
dyslexia?
calling her
Gross.
Cleo from
Do
the
I?
other way. Chloe's mom comes to Aruba, which means only about a week of time has gone past since we started with Chloe on Aruba. And it really seems like she's been there for a very long time, not just 7 days or so.
And she says that her mom's coming down for the weekend.
That also was something I noticed.
Okay.
The first class seat on what is probably not a very long flight, I would say 4 hours at the outside from Massachusetts, where mom lives, from Boston.
Oh, is that where they are? I was trying to look that up.
She bought first class seats. She's only staying the weekend. Does this seem a little extravagant to you?
Well, given the fact that the only time I've flown in anything above economy was for an 8-hour flight that I didn't even have to pay for. Thank you to the powers that be that made that happen. I, I don't know. It seems as though first class for a 4-hour flight is a bit excessive.
My point is, she's only going for 2 days or so. Why would you bother
Oh.
spending that much money on a flight where you're only going to be there for a weekend? If you're going for like a month, a couple of weeks, I can see, but it's just so extravagant.
You are bringing
Oh,
so much more perspective into my opinion right now. This is lovely. But yeah, 4
happy to
hour
help.
flight,
Yeah.
first class, and she was happy that no one was sitting next to her.
Hmm.
How much do you notice that the other person's sitting next to you anyway?
In first class? Yeah, not at all, because you've got a huge chair that can fit 4 people in it, and the other person is sitting 12 feet away. So, yeah, let's go on with other topics than flight.
Okay. It came out that Chloe was saying that her mom has very high expectations of people and she's worried about, what she's going to think about Johnny and his place. And my thought was she has high expectations of literally everyone else but you. And
Ooh,
you are the product of your mother's lack of expectations of you.
wow. Yes, there's a lot there. I totally agree that mom is rather judgmental and has a certain way of living, a certain standard of living that she expects everybody else to live up to, which is a little bit disappointing in that she's not more open and accepting, but she is who she is. Okay, so we're dealing with this. She's staying with them at Johnny's house. Where else is she going to stay? Stupid question. She
At a
would have booked
5-star
herself into
hotel.
a
Yeah.
like a 5-star hotel, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So she's staying with them purely just for the fact that it's material for the show. Otherwise, she would have been at a Hilton or something. And she has these attitudes about what Johnny's place looks like that I found kind of upsetting. Did you?
Yes. I found it offensive.
Yes.
This man lost his mom not too long ago. We believe that he's living in the house that he lived in with his mom. The guy works full time. He doesn't really have much of a life outside of work. He spends, I want to say, almost every other waking minute trying to deal with Chloe tracking him and talking at him. And I mean, it's all about Chloe. And sometimes you live in a place for so long and then you just just don't see those random things like those marks on the walls. And I can
Yeah, it's not
appreciate,
important to him.
exactly. Thank you. That's what I was getting at. Words.
Okay, I had a whole lot to say about this segment,
Okay,
and I
tell me.
got into a couple of rabbit holes about Aruba and stuff because I was really curious. There's the issue of all of the luggage that mom has brought with her. Did you notice I was really surprised in the car, van, whatever that is, Jeep, that there were so many cases
For 2 days.
for 2 days. Yeah, exactly. I was like, "Why does she have 3 suitcases? What is going on?" Explained that some of this stuff is for Chloe. Okay, that's very nice. There's the comment, which was hilarious, about Chloe starting to learn Spanish, and she's learning it from Dora the Explorer, which I thought is about the right speed.
If not a little above her head.
Okay, so this is one of the little I just got that. This is one of the little rabbit holes I went down because I was like, why the heck is she learning Spanish? This is not a Spanish speaking island as far as I know. It's a Dutch island. So I looked it up. What do people speak on Aruba? Dutch is the official language,
Oh,
but most Arubans speak fluently English and Spanish. Okay. So if everybody speaks English already, what's the point of her taking the trouble to learn Spanish? And if anything, she should be learning Dutch if that's the primary language.
good luck with that. Dutch is one of the most oh my god, I have the hiccups. Dutch is the most, or one of the most, from what I understand, difficult languages to learn.
Then the other rabbit hole I started going down was all about immigration because I was very curious. We got a lot of talking about Chloe needing a card so that she can go to her job, which
Yeah.
she doesn't have yet. And I was like, how is she going to work there? Don't you have citizenship of some kind? What's the process in Aruba? Okay, so here we go. Very briefly. She can stay up to 90 days without a visa on Aruba. She can apply to stay for a total of 180 days a year with a special visa, and she can move there if she's self-sufficient and she can prove to the government that she will not be a burden on them, so she won't need any of their social assistance programs. Or she can buy a house that has to be worth at least 200 grand, or she can marry an Aruban. Is this where she's going? We don't know.
I don't know, but on that, sorry, I feel like I'm yelling to like talk over my hiccups. On that note, like she said she was making 6 figures while working at her mom's company while living at home. At no point did she save anything to be able to comply or to be able to meet these visa or immigration expectations.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic. I think we should get to that in a minute because
Okay.
we've got more to talk about here. So she can marry an Aruban to become an Aruban citizen and stay permanently on the island without having to leave every 180 days or so. Great. But we don't know, we haven't seen any plans for this couple to get engaged or get married, right? Yes. Good. Thank you.
Yes.
If Jonathan wants to be her guarantor as the person that she's married, he can do that just like you can in the States, but he has to prove that his income exceeds a minimum threshold. And then she gets this temporary visa, which she has to renew every year. And then after 5 years, she's permanent and there's no other stuff she has to do. It's a whole process. Has she talked about any of this? No. Is Jonathan likely to be the kind of person who could be her guarantor because he's so financially stable? I don't think so. Like all of a sudden, I'm starting to think this whole scene of her going to Aruba and moving there is bullshit.
It's a sham.
It's like Inky and Corona. They're just doing it for the TV.
I don't know. But though I wonder if Johnny has like some inheritance from when his mom passed. Though I
Maybe.
can't see them having that much money to be the guarantor for her. And I think it's questionable that they would be able to rely on his income because presumably a lot of it has to do with tips.
Yeah.
So would
That
the
would be
government
under the
consider,
table and
yeah,
not reported. So it looks like he's actually earning very little. I know. It's like it's not making sense to me at all, having learned what I learned about immigrating. Anyway, we're pretending for the moment that Chloe is there for true purposes of moving to Aruba and that is what everybody is acting as if is real,
yeah.
right? Okay. So when mom gets to the house, doesn't Chloe say something about she's in All of this time that she's been on Aruba, which amounts to 1 week, she has unpacked one of her suitcases. She has boiled eggs once on the stove, and she has done 0 laundry.
But she boiled eggs in a pot.
Yeah, I know. It's as if she thought that her mom was asking her if she just boiled the eggs on the stove without a pot. And I'm like, doesn't boiling by definition mean that there has to be an element of liquid?
A vessel to hold said liquid?
Yes, that too. Vessels.
I thought that was so stupid. And then, when they're going through the house and, there's no hot water, God forbid. And then her mom's like, oh, yeah, Chloe likes the finer things in life. And I almost slapped my desk. And I'm like, that's because that's how you raised her. And
Yeah.
you are the problem here. And you have created this new problem, which is her.
Mom has indulged Chloe to such a crazy extent that Chloe is totally a product of mom's upbringing,
Yes.
but not in a good way. Also, when they pull into the house, there were 2 cars in the driveway and a motorcycle in the driveway.
Yes.
So, what is all this car shopping thing about? Because we have a total of 4 vehicles on Johnny's property. What?
Yeah, I also asked that question. Why does he have so many cars? What is the purpose?
Yeah,
And does she actually need one? And can she, because she says she needs to get a car for a job, and yet she doesn't have one. She has
hmm,
no prospects for said job. Does she even have the appropriate visa to be able to get a job? Has she looked into this? No, she just wants to get a car so she doesn't have to call her friend
yep,
so that she can go and spy on Johnny.
exactly. Thinking about how much money Chloe may not have right now, how does it make sense for her to think about buying a car before she even gets employed, becomes employed, and maybe even passes her probationary period so that she knows she's safe for at least a little while? Why would you invest a few $1,000s when you don't have it and you don't have a job?
And not just that, but even if, because she said that Johnny leaves at like 7 a.m. So can she not borrow his car
Yeah, she
for
could
the
drive
day?
him to work and pick him up after work every day. It's so stupid. So she wants to buy a car. Cars are very expensive on Aruba. Of course, they are. It's an island in the middle of the Caribbean. Things are much more expensive there than they are anywhere else. So the minimum that she's looking at paying for a used car is about 25 grand. Right. So she throws a tantrum and says, she's going to rent a car instead, which she said costs up to $600 a week, I think, a month. Well, that's nothing. Okay, that's really good if she can get it for a month. Anyway, this is her plan. And as mom and Chloe are discussing this outside the car dealership, it comes out that, in fact, mom has been paying for everything. How does this make sense when Chloe told us herself in the first episode that she has a 6-figure income from being employed in her mom's business?
I wonder if it counts her base salary plus all of the bonuses that her mom randomly gives her.
Yeah, that sounds a bit far-fetched,
I don't
but
know.
I think either she's lying about getting that kind of an income, she just said that for kicks, or maybe she did make that money, but it was for such a short period of time that she hasn't managed to save anything. Maybe she had this 6-figure salary for 6 months, but it sounds like it has not been very long at all that she's been making any money because mom has given her over 20 grand for her to go to Aruba, rent the car, stay in a nice place, all of those things Chloe has not been paying for, at least not wholly paying for.
It's been over a year that she's been seeing Johnny. So her mom has been facilitating this entire, like financially facilitating this entire relationship. Where is her salary? Where's her salary? Like I remember making like $14 an hour living at home and still being able to save.
Well, mom said in one of the first episodes that Chloe really likes her expensive things. Like there
Oh.
was a mention of some kind of face cream or I don't know what. And apparently she flew back for a haircut once. So we know that there are some big expenses that Chloe is making without thinking about. And she's not going to be able to sustain that kind of a life. Mom is going to stop subsidizing her. She's going to cut Chloe off completely, almost as if she's saying, unless you move back to the States. But that part wasn't said out loud.
No, but that was implied.
Yeah.
You want to live here. I'm not going to pay for it. Make it on your own, which means You're not doing what I want you to do. And if you want this money, you're coming back.
Yeah,
My money, my
my
lack of
rules.
money, if I had any money to put down on this, I would put it down on Chloe's going back.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, she has to. She can't stay there. She has no immigration status at all. So all this talk of getting a job is just purely for dramatic sake. All right, shall we read on?
I have minimal notes for this.
Well, that's very distressing. Luke and Madeleine up next, and it has been a while. We haven't seen them in a couple of episodes.
Thank God.
I thought this was funny. This could be the crew trolling him. They opened with a scene of Luke wearing his sunglasses that he designed and tried to start as a business, which has failed miserably.
Well, these are the folding ones.
hmm Anyway, he's on his way to meeting Madeleine. This meeting he's hoping will be a reconciliation. She is hoping that they're going to discuss business because they do have, as she says, many businesses or several businesses together. I was like, isn't it just two?
I thought it was so strange how he was talking about how he doesn't want to put her on the property. Is he uh, is he on the business? Is he part owner of the business? Is the property that he's talking about the apart oh my god, the apartment that he owns, or is this the new property that he wants to develop?
Okay, so he's talking about the new property that he wants to develop. They haven't mentioned at all the apartment that they had in the first season that they were on, that they were using as a kind of an Airbnb. I don't know why we haven't heard about that apartment at all. The fact that he invested the money into her beauty salon, I think means that that business is partly his, although we also know from just looking it up on Google that that beauty salon no longer exists.
I'm so glad that you found that out. I was very, very tickled by that. But he was also saying that, he wants to have something left if they do split from, before they got together. But from my knowledge, he only bought property down there after they got together. So yeah, it predates the marriage, not the relationship. I don't know what the laws are like down in Colombia. However, he's the reason why he has nothing left. He's spent all of it. He's either given it to her, he's put it into failed investments. This dude just doesn't know money. I find them very, very, very infuriating.
Well, this is an interesting point. We know that Madeline is a teenager, but also I think that she does have some financial savvy.
Some
This
business
business,
acumen.
the bitty business, the beauty business did do well for some period of time. At least she seems to have been trying to purchase a property on her own with her proceeds from the beauty business, which seemed pretty smart. We don't know if she actually went through with that or not, but there was that. And she knew that she had to do it before they got married and put it in her name. She knows that this business that Luke is starting with her is only in his name and that it would be to her advantage to be on the property listing as an owner or whatever it's called. So she does seem to be pretty savvy here. And I started to wonder as we're watching this scene unfold with them in the park, maybe she knew what she was doing all along. Maybe this whole incredibly stupid argument about the stripper being at the surprise party that he had nothing to do with the planning of, maybe that whole scene was made up so that she could go into a rage, break up with him, but then reconcile by way of getting everything she wants from him and more.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, listeners have called us out before about this or maybe about me. Though I think that you're right. She seems to be a lot smarter than we give her credit for. Like her manipulation tactics are working out very well for her. As much as I absolutely abhor this person, I really think that she's playing this game so well.
Yeah, because when she says, okay, well, we can hang out, when what's his name pleads with her to come back to him, she says, yeah, we can hang out, but there's no sex, there's no relationship. It's just, we're just hanging out.
Yeah, okay, because that works well.
So she's like torturing the guy quite deliberately and with a
he's
purpose in
loving every
mind.
bit of it.
Perhaps he is.
No, she is.
She's definitely enjoying it, but he might be enjoying it too. They meet a little bit later on to go to this spiritual cleanse thingamajiggy, which, of course, Madelein is a huge fan of and believes in 1000%, which is why her eyeballs roll back into her head when she talks about this spiritual stuff.
Yeah, I looked up what the name of the company, and it just means alchemy.
The name of the company, which company?
They went to go visit the spiritual cleanser. Yeah, there was a sign outside, and I Googled it, and it just said alchemy. That was the translation.
Okay, weird.
I was
What I
limited for time, and I tried.
what I got from this scene was that this, as much as Madeleine was forbearing of it and tolerated it because it's what Luke wanted to do, and he was paying for it, so she really didn't have anything to lose. This was
Much like money.
another chance for her to humiliate him
Mm.
because he's getting cleansed, being told how dirty he is, and having things rubbed all over
Oh,
him.
I wonder if she got off on that.
That's what I'm thinking.
Interesting. Yeah,
Mm.
power play, but also sexual in the same way. Like, you bowed down and, you were cleansed of all of your wrongdoings and you've been a good boy.
Eek. Shall we read on?
My God. I don't know if I can recover from that personally.
Shall I call 911 for you?
I have the most perfect segue.
Please.
Let me show you.
It's okay. I can't see any. Oh, nocciolata.
Let me
I
say
think
that
it's
again.
Italian.
French Nutella.
It's
Well,
Italian?
my sister got it for me in France.
But it's Italian.
No, it says it's from France.
Cool. French.
Do you see it? The correlation?
It's turning from Nutella into France. It's very
Yeah,
smart.
but from Madeleine with digging her dirty friggin' fingers
Yeah.
into it. Also, this is still closed. I haven't even opened it yet.
And let me see your nails to make sure that you have the appropriate length. Okay, that's good.
You can't
Nice
even
and
really
short.
see them, but I saw that when I went into the kitchen. I'm like, oh my God, this is so perfect. Also, my sister got me to sell it while she was in France. Love that. Thank you. So this was difficult to watch.
Yes, we're back to Manon and Anthony,
Thank
although
you.
Anthony is giving side character vibes. Why do I think he's not really on this show?
Because Manon walks all over him. She doesn't give him the time and the space to be a human being. He's
And
just her pawn.
everything that we're focusing on in this season so far with this couple is all about her.
Mhm.
Okay, so he has made a smart choice, Anthony, and he has left this dinner party with Benjamin, escaping a conflagration before it ignites. Brilliant. Manon, meanwhile, is ordering another drink when everybody knows that she's already had enough and is expressing that to her. She doesn't care.
No, I'm not a virgin. Thank you for asking. Oh, my drink. No, not even my drink will be virgin. Not her words, but really that's what she was getting at.
She goes to the other end of the table to go talk to her Aunt Christine. This is the one that she had issues with before. And
And
we didn't get enough of the story, I don't think, to really understand what was going on there. But it sounds like it was all hearsay anyway.
yeah, someone told her and she ran with it that she was talking shit about the family behind their backs. What? Okay.
And the
Anyway.
sister figures pretty prominently in this episode, although we don't really see her that much. But she does offer this piece of wisdom, which I think hits the nail on the head. Manon essentially has no filter. She says whatever she's thinking or feeling and does not really care about anybody else's feelings as may pertain to that comment. So
Classic.
there's a particular edge to Manon as she heads down to the other end of the table to talk to her Aunt Christine, and her manner and her vibe, the words she was using, everything was making me very uncomfortable.
I felt her mannerisms were like aggressive without being aggressive. She comes in, sure, her words, at least the translation. I mean, you speak French. Can you confirm that the translation was correct? And she was
Yeah, it was
actually
good.
saying, okay, so her words seem to be kind and engaging, I guess, but just the way that she portrayed it made me feel like she was attacking me.
The way that's exactly how I viewed it. Kind words, but unkind presentation or
Mhm.
delivery. And I thought that she was coming off as just totally disingenuous. It was almost as if every word she was saying actually meant the opposite.
Yes. I forgive you.
It's so lovely to see you. Our family is so important. No, not that we've seen so far out of your character. And then she got to the point where, because she had that aggressive attitude in how she was saying those words, I felt like she was being quite rude. But this is where things get totally weird because we don't get to see the aftermath of whatever she communicated to Aunt Christine and the sister.
There was a huge disconnect because
Yeah.
when we first meet Aunt Christine, Manon is asking, how was the meal? And Aunt Christine says the camembert was hard, which I
Yes.
thought was interesting. Food, we got to see some of the food. But yeah, and then it just like cuts to outside when she's talking to her papa. And it was so strange. But we also had that like one side interview with her sister where her sister says that she gets so explosive over nothing. And it seemed as though the next scene with her parents outside confirmed it, that Manon makes everything about herself. She gets upset over almost nothing. Everything is everyone else's fault.
Hmm.
And again, going back to the sister, she said she was worried, like when she went over to talk to her Aunt Christine, that she was going to start something. And I wondered, which has been kind of supported throughout this entire episode, that this is just her personality. She's just explosive. She's accusatory. She doesn't take any responsibility for any of her actions. And it's just the pattern of her behavior, and everyone expects it of her, which is why people have distanced themselves from her.
Yeah, I totally agree that I would distance myself from somebody who was behaving like that towards me all the time. That would be really annoying. But it strikes me that Manon is kind of stuck at this developmental stage of being a teenager where she's just insolent all the time. She's got a bad attitude. Everybody's out to get her and it's like, "Fuck you, you're not my dad." Or words to that effect, like, I can do what I want. I'm grown, so I'm going to do it my way. Screw you and everybody else. When we see her confronted by her parents outside, they're just trying to hold her accountable. Something transpired between Manon and the sister, but we don't know what it was, right? But
I
something had to have gone down.
find this very irritating from like an editing standpoint.
Hmm.
How can you talk about an event that was clearly filmed? I find it really interesting now that we're talking about her behavior because, again, we are not doctors. We are not certified
Oh,
in
come
any
on.
capacity.
I think it's time to reveal that we are, in fact, doctors. Come on.
I am a doctor of nothing, master of nothing. Anyway, she seems to be exhibiting a lot of behaviors of borderline personality disorder.
Yeah. Manic depressive,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Blowing up
Yes.
about everything and nothing,
Mhm.
blaming everyone else, the
Yeah.
histrionic trauma,
Yeah.
not being able to move on from it. That is what really stuck out to me
Mhm.
as I was watching this. And especially when her parents are, calling her out outside, especially her father. And, I can kind of understand, the comparison, the constant comparison, you with your sister, or your sister's so good. Why are you doing this? But it's because her behavior is so erratic, and it's so over the top, and it's so difficult to predict and or mute,
Mhm. Wouldn't that be nice?
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's because she causes the conflict. She goes out of her way to cause the conflicts. And she seems to be a right fighter, also a trait of borderline. She can't admit when she's wrong.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that she's a narcissist because I don't see the narcissistic traits in her.
No.
It seems as though it's her behavior is coming from a place of hurt and misunderstanding and an inability to control her own emotions.
Yeah, very concise. I like that.
Thank you.
I
Difficult.
found it just astonishing watching her dynamic with her parents as they were telling her what the issue was, and she would not listen. She would demand them answer the problem rather than her give an answer. She would doesn't wanna hear anything that she doesn't wanna hear, defends herself constantly, and definitely she is hurting people whenever she gets called out for some behavior or another. Blames other people. They're the ones who have a problem with her. not the other way around. We've seen her have arguments with her husband. We've seen her have arguments with her husband's family and now with her own family. The only common denominator in all of these people is Manon. So it is not that everybody else is piling onto her. It's that she is causing the problems in all of these relationships that she has.
You've mentioned this maybe several times before, but at least once, that her behavior is very performative, which
Hmm.
is also, in my experience, an aspect of borderline.
Yeah.
Again, not diagnosing, just pulling through comparisons here,
Yeah.
especially because I have a vast amount of experience with it. I find it so interesting to see how she plays everything. And I'm not saying that everything is calculated. Everything is it just seems so explosive with
Hmm.
her. And it's all impulsive. That's another word.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Everyone
I said,
else's fault.
it's like she's stuck at this stage of being a teenager around 15, 16, where she can't control, like, she's got all these feelings that are really big and changing all
Hormones.
the
God forbid
time.
your hormones
My
when you're that
hormones,
age.
yeah, exactly. She's got parents that she's trying to distance herself from in order to detach and become her own independent person, so she's always fighting with them, and she's always in this state of rebellion. She can't take anybody else's advice. She's just she's a teenager. Like, she's stuck in that phase of her life, and what's her name? Madeleine is a child, is like a 17-year-old, but acting with somehow, the adult experience of a business person.
I was gonna say, with having the business acumen of someone who has at least the first level of knowledge, find it fun and painful at the same time, but also
Okay.
very fascinating.
Mhm. It's like going to the dentist, but then getting a treat afterwards.
What?
You said
Nobody
fun but painful. That's
nobody gets a
no.
treat after the dentist.
You get a toothbrush, and sometimes you get a little tiny tube of toothpaste and a mini dental floss.
Yeah,
I
okay.
get treats.
That
Don't you
is
get
yeah,
treats?
yes, I do. I do love those treats, yes.
Those treat.
Yeah. Useful? I actually really love that. Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's not like you go to the dentist and then you walk out and you have free reign of the gelato bar next door or
That'd
the
be nice.
charcuterie. Did you catch the charcuterie? Because there was charcuterie at the table, at Manon's table, which I would have devoured. But anyway, we don't get any of those treats after this whole interaction with
No,
Manon.
no.
This is all performative.
Like I said at the top of the show, it feels like everybody went through a reality check this week. So they've got some thinking to do. I was gonna say, like on Married at First Sight, when Grace says they have to all go away and what is the word she uses? Self-reflect.
Oh, God.
They all must self-reflect now.
Actually, that's quite poignant, especially in this episode when we look at the 3 couples. Why did we only see 3? Anyway,
Mm,
Chloe's mom's cutting her off. Madeleine is playing the game, and Manon is the victim.
well
Why
said.
doesn't everyone self-reflect? I think Madeleine and Luke both need to self-reflect. However, I think Madeleine's doing her own thing. And, like, I give her more respect than I think I've ever given her before based on this episode alone and our conversation, because I didn't see that as I was watching, but the more that we talk about it, the more that it rings true.
Mm, just a theory.
You just so interesting,
Well,
chameleon.
on that happy note, let's wrap it up.
Well, let's talk about the next episode.
Ooh, what's in the next episode? I know that there's a
The
new
cafe?
logo for the family cafe. Yeah, we finally, about time, get to go back to the cafe. I'm looking forward to that. And none of the rest of it really made an impression on me. I've forgotten it already.
No, I just said next up in all caps locks, the cafe. We haven't seen it at what we're episode 9. I feel like we haven't seen it since episode 4 or 5. Like it's been a while.
It's
So
been a
I'm
while.
really looking forward to seeing what's going on. And it looks as though the cafe is almost up and running and or they're doing their trials or something. So I'm
And they're boiling potatoes in toilet water.
and my sweet Sumit is no, I should no, I take that
No,
back.
no.
I take that back. Sumit is the one that calls his dad out for it.
Hmm.
Perhaps this is why you should have found a better location that had water that was closer and or plumbing.
Yeah. Well, with that in mind, before we go, if you're enjoying the 90 Day Fiance Honestly podcast, please subscribe to or give our show a follow. If you have an additional moment, please rate us and help other 90 Day fans to find the show. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone, and I'm
See,
sorry about my hiccups.
see you next week.